Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to talk about Ancient Realms. So Ancient Realms is a new game in Wax blockchain, and currently they've already done their pre-sale for their packs. So equipments are being sold currently in the Atomic Hub, which later we'll look into so we can see how much they're going for. But right now let's go through what the game is about and the roadmap and the white paper. So the game is basically a dungeon type game. So if I'm looking into it, the way I see it, I can compare this maybe to Dungeon Swap, or I could probably compare this also to Binary X Adventure. But the main difference here is that you will have equipments that you can actually use for your heroes, and there are also tools that you may need in order to survive the game. So there's also skills in the game, which is very critical. So you have fishing and cooking. So these are the first two skills released in this game currently in the closed beta, which they did a couple weeks back. So this will help you survive when you're doing your dungeons, especially with bosses. So you need to have this food that you have and you carry around while you're doing your dungeons. So combat basically is what I mentioned earlier. You will do your dungeons, you will kill monsters, you will kill bosses, and you will get the rewards. So that's basically the gist of what the entire game is. And here you'll see the NFTs that are going to be used in game. So what you're seeing right now are the initial tools that are going to be essential, I think, when you're playing the game. So number one is for fishing. So you need a fishing rod in order to do your fishing faster. Backpacks, I'm not exactly sure the utility for backpacks here, although they mentioned here allows you to stake an additional 8 NFTs. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. Maybe if you have more equipments, then you can probably carry more equipment in your backpack. Maybe that's what it means. So we'll see once the feature for this one is released. It's not yet out currently. Now you also see here that there are different classes here. So there is melee, mage, and ranger. So in terms of outfits, they are different types, and they have their advantages and disadvantages in terms of usage for that particular equipment. So you'll see that, for example, here for melee, there are some disadvantages when you use a helmet for a melee unit. There are negative stats that you can see here. So you have to take that into consideration. When I asked around Discord, they actually mentioned that you can use different types of equipment, not made for the specific class. So you need to be conscious of what are the plus and minuses in terms of using the equipment that are outside of your current class. So that's it currently for the NFT. Now next is the roadmap. So right now we're in stage 1. So they have already released tool pack, closed beta, and starter pack drop. And now we're going into the open beta, which is going to be released I think a couple weeks from now. Then they're also looking into the new gear slots. So stage 2 would probably be Q1 2022, I'm assuming. So the game will be released. They will have the backpack drop, as I mentioned earlier, which is not yet available. Token contract, so this is going to be their gold coin token. That'll be available as in-game currency in the game. Then dungeon rewards, so I would assume this is where we start earning the play to earn part of the game. Then in here you can also enhance your equipment, so you can earn gems in the game if you do Slay Quest, so which is the Slayer skill here. The new packs, which also I'm looking forward to. Stage 3 is I think going to be far off into the game, which we're not going to look into here right now. So let's look into the white paper. So we're not going to go through everything here. We're just going to breeze through some important information. So as I mentioned earlier, skills are very important in the game. So fishing will actually help you survive bosses. So they clearly mentioned it here. So most likely when you're going to do dungeons, especially boss fight dungeons, then you need to make sure that you're carrying at least maybe 1 or 2 of these during your dungeon run. So there are different levels available here, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe this is dependent on your level or maybe your skill. This is something we'll find out once the open beta is released in a couple weeks from now. The combat system is basically just the calculation on how the combat system will work, so I'm not going to go through that. So there is leveling in the game. You will start at level 1, where all of your stats are set at 1, but except for hit point, which is at 10. Then you can just play and level up, so you can increase your stats. So they also mentioned here that many activities in Ancient Realms will be gated by stat requirements, so you need to make sure that you're increasing your levels as high as possible. Then bosses, as I mentioned, this is where you can get additional equipment NFTs, which will increase your combat strength and item power for dungeons. Then this is also important, like when bossing in Ancient Realms, you will need to make sure you have enough food, good enough gear, and stats. So if you don't prepare correctly, you will die. So you can actually die in the game. So bosses are the only monsters in the game that gives you a chance to get an NFT as a drop. So bosses will often have unique drops that are better than starter gear. If you want to gain access to a boss in Ancient Realms, you will need a realm key. So later on we'll talk about this one. So these are usually dropped by monsters, but you need to do a Slayer quest in order to get the drop possible. So death mechanics in the game is when you die, your stats will be temporarily reduced. So meaning that if you try to do the same dungeon, you're not gonna have a good time. So the only way to get it back or to get rid of death with sickness is by spending gold, which I think in the open beta is not gonna be available yet, but they're planning to add that feature in. So realms, there are going to be different realms available in the game with different layouts, different locations. So at least to give the game a little bit more spice. So each game will have their own bosses and own Slayer tasks that you can do. So let's see how well they design the different realms available for this game. So new equipment slots, they're also looking into adding I think rings and capes. So these are only going to be available from boss or a pack drop. So we'll see how this works. So this is something very interesting. And I think they're gonna look into other slots as well. Maybe belt, right? So or necklaces or something, or amulets. They can also add those in. So drops in NFT minting. So the main drop that you will always get in the dungeon will be gold coins. But there will be some cases if you do the Slayer quest, you may get a realm key drop, which is what will allow you to fight bosses. Then you can also get gems if you're also doing the Slayer quest as one of the drops in the game as well. So tokenomics, there are going to be I think 10 trillion tokens, if I read that correctly, for gold coins, and these are going to be used for all of the different activities that you need to do in game. So one of them would be like going to different realms. You'll need to pay gold coins to get there. So that's one way. So in here, dungeon staking, they're talking about how you can actually earn gold coins in the game. So your gold coin earnings is dependent on the equipment you have and the level that you have, I think. So the higher the rarity of your equipment will actually produce you better gold coin results. So that's why getting good equipment is very important in the game. Now Slayer, as I mentioned earlier, this is a task that you need to do, and it will give you a specific quest that you need to clear mobs in different realms, and this is where you can get drops for the realm key or the gems, which you can use to enhance your equipment. Now in equipment enhancing, once this is implemented, you just need to take note that there is only a 60% chance that you will be successful and you will get a +1 in your equipment. Now there is also a chance that if you fail, then your equipment will de-level or de-rank. And I think that's it. That's all they have currently in the game. So one thing to take note of is that we don't know who the developers are. There is no mention in any of their documentation on who they are. So that's, I guess, one thing you need to take note of. Now in terms of cost, right? So in Atomic Hub, you can just actually look into Ancient Realm, and you can look into the prices of the items. So there are still packs available if you want to buy packs. So we can look into this section. So if you want to buy packs, so they are selling the starter weapon packs for around 81 bucks. Then you can look into, I think, other packs here. Starter gear pack at 100 packs, 100 bucks. So the mega items are being sold at 184. So these are the mega weapon packs, and the mega gear pack will get you 233. I guess in a way it's going to be worth it if you get like maybe a rare enough item, because I mean these are not exactly cheap, right? If you get only commons and uncommons, I think you lucked out in terms of cost. So you have to really consider if you want to do something like that. So that's a risk on your end, so up to you. But for equipments and weapons, so rarity, so the common ones are pretty cheap. I think anybody can buy them. If you want to complete a set, it's very easy. It's just that you need better rarity to get better performance. So rare is slightly expensive still, like 45. Wow, for the weapon, I guess that's fine. I mean, it's not breaking the bank. So you can look into the prices of the gears or weapons that are available currently. So definitely anything in common, you can actually buy them for cheap, so no problem. So I'd say go for maybe as far as rare if you're in a budget. Now the most important one, as I mentioned earlier, is to get at least a fishing rod. So fishing rods are not cheap, okay? So the common one already goes at around 48 bucks minimum, and of course by default you would want to go for something better, right? But I think it's in rare, I think it's overly expensive, like wow, you skyrocket to 244 bucks, so it's really far, and you're getting 7% fishing speed. And for common, I think you're gonna get around 4%, and it's a lot cheaper. So I think maybe getting an uncommon is better than getting a rare. But of course, at the end of the day, I mean, whoever has a budget will be able to buy these, right? So, but for me, if I'm on a tight budget, I'll probably look into the fishing rod just to get one, because epics, most likely it's already far off, $700, and you go to legendary, it's already stupid price, like 1,800. So it's not something I can buy, and just to get an additional 10% on my fishing speed. Okay, so that's it pretty much for the game. So if you're interested, the equipment's already available here. You can purchase them. But again, do your own research, right? Go into the Discord channel, chat to the people, get a feel on what the game is or how the people are in terms of the community. If everybody is supportive and people are actually interested into the game, then maybe that's something that you might get into. But for me, I'm just interested because of the concept of the game. I just like it, so that's why I'm looking into it. Alright, so with that, guys, that ends my video for today. So there are other games that are available in Wax blockchain, so I'm gonna look into them as well and try to talk about some of the new ones that are coming up. Alright, with that, guys, thank you for watching the video and hope to see you again in my future videos. So take care.